In Part 1, we explored the bottom half of our top 10 countdown of Red Scare films of the 1950s. Films full of propaganda, paranoia, and a whole lot of plot holes. But now we reach the top 5. These weren't just B-movie warnings with fog machines and trench coats. These were passion projects, prestige pictures, Hollywood's attempt to weaponize cinema in defense of the American way, and sometimes in defense of their own reputations. This is Part 2 of our countdown of top 10 Red Scare films of the 1950s. Number 5. Big Jim McLain. Released in 1952 by Warner Brothers and directed by Edward Ludwig, Big Jim McLain is one of the few Hollywood films that openly supported the House Un-American Activities Committee, portraying its investigators not as controversial inquisitors, but as action heroes on the front line of the Cold War. John Wayne stars as Jim McLain, a HUAC investigator dispatched to Hawaii to root out communist infiltration. Joining him is fellow agent Mal Baxter, played by James Arness, in a buddy cop dynamic that turns political investigation into a noir-flavored crime thriller. Their mission uncovers a web of communist subversion tied to insurance fraud, labor sabotage on the docks, and the psychological manipulation of former party members. Along the way, McLain finds romance with Nancy Vallon, played by Nancy Olson, a sympathetic secretary whose boss is secretly aiding the enemy. Wayne, an outspoken anti-communist and founder of the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals, took the role seriously, seeing the film as part of his broader cultural mission to defend American values. The plot thickens when McLain's partner is murdered by party agents, and the film culminates in a violent raid on the communist meeting where the agents are arrested. Though the climax delivers action, the film ends on a somber note, reminding viewers that many communists were still avoiding prosecution by pleading the Fifth Amendment. Critically panned but politically potent, Big Jim McLain was propaganda with a cowboy swagger. Wayne's larger-than-life persona gave HUAC a populist face, even as critics accused the film of trivializing civil liberties and fanning hysteria. Number 4. Trial. Released in 1955 by MGM and directed by Mark Robson, Trial offered a more complex and morally layered take on Red Scare themes than many of its cinematic contemporaries. It fused issues of race, civil rights, and anti-communist hysteria into a courtroom drama that questioned where justice ends and ideology begins. The story opens in the fictional California town of San Juno. A Mexican-American teenager named Angel Chavez is arrested after a white girl he was with collapses and dies on the beach. Although her death is the result of a heart condition, local authorities charge Angel with felony murder. Enter David Blake, a principled law professor played by Glenn Ford. Told his university contract won't be renewed unless he gains trial experience, Blake joins the defense team, led by charismatic attorney Barney Castle, portrayed by Arthur Kennedy in a performance that earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. At first, Blake believes he's fighting for justice, but he slowly realizes Castle is using the case to serve the agenda of a communist front group, turning Angel into a martyr for political gain. Castle even travels to New York to fundraise off the trial while secretly manipulating the defense's strategy to ensure a conviction that will stoke outrage and rally the party's supporters. Blake grows disillusioned and tries to steer the case back toward a genuine defense. When Castle returns and pressures Angel to testify, hoping his emotional collapse on the stand will seal his fate, Blake is pushed to the brink. He ultimately pleads with the judge for an alternate sentencing option, citing Angel's youth. Though not as overtly propagandistic as other entries on the list, Trial depicted Communist Party tactics as cynical and exploitative, aligning them with racial division and political opportunism. At the same time, it didn't shy away from critiquing American racism and judicial bias, giving the film a rare dual perspective in Red Scare cinema. With strong performances, sharp direction, and a script that balanced melodrama with moral inquiry, Trial earned praise for its ambition, even as it reinforced suspicions about subversive activity cloaked in the language of social justice. Number 3. My Son John. Released in 1952 at the height of Cold War anxiety, My Son John is one of the most overtly anti-communist films of the era. Directed by Leo McCarey and distributed by Paramount Pictures, it tells the story of a patriotic American couple whose faith in their family is shaken when their son is suspected of communist sympathies. The film stars Helen Hayes, Van Heflin, Dean Jagger, and Robert Walker, whose unexpected death during production led to the use of repurposed footage from Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train to complete his scenes. Walker plays John, the eldest son of a devoutly Catholic, middle-class family. His parents, played by Hayes and Jagger, slowly realize their son may be involved in subversive activities and possibly betraying American ideals.
What? Oh, no, you're not. Just because my son has been poisoned, I'll not let him infect other mothers' sons and daughters.
The film blends family melodrama with Cold War paranoia. As the story unfolds, John becomes increasingly alienated, caught between his love for his family and his ideological commitments. The film was deeply personal for director Leo McCarey, a devout Catholic and conservative who saw the movie as a moral warning. The film's clear endorsement of HUAC and its portrayal of a redeemed traitor aligned it closely with the political climate of the time. While My Son John received mixed reviews, it was praised by some conservative critics as a bold stand against domestic subversion. Helen Hayes, returning to the screen after a long absence, gave a performance that some considered among her best. The film also received an Academy Award nomination for Best Story. Though it wasn't a box office smash, My Son John became a lasting cultural artifact, one of the few prestige films of the era to tackle Cold War anxieties head-on. Number 2. I Was a Communist for the FBI. One of the most notorious titles of the Red Scare era, I Was a Communist for the FBI wasn't pitched as a thriller or a satire. It was a confession. Based on the real-life account of Matt Cvetic, a Pittsburgh steelworker turned FBI informant, the film dramatized the paranoia and ideological warfare of Cold War America. Directed by Gordon Douglas and released by Warner Brothers in 1951, the film starred Frank Lovejoy as Cvetic, a blue-collar Catholic forced to live a double life, attending Communist Party meetings by night, all while reporting to the FBI behind the scenes. His friends turn against him, his devout mother disowns him, and his own sense of identity begins to fracture.
As it is, she's ashamed to admit you're a son.
She'll never be ashamed of me.
Get out of this house and don't you ever come back.
You can't tell me that.
You slimy red.
The script doesn't hold back. Communist leaders are portrayed as scheming elitists who manipulate racial unrest, mock religion, and incite violence under the guise of revolution. One subplot involves a disillusioned schoolteacher and party member, played by Dorothy Hart, who gradually awakens to the party's true intentions, offering Cvetic a glimmer of emotional connection in an otherwise lonely and dangerous existence. The production had no official FBI involvement, but Bureau cooperation behind the scenes was evident. J. Edgar Hoover gave his blessing, and Warner Brothers, led by anti-communist crusader Jack Warner, was more than happy to turn the story into a cinematic weapon. The film earned over $1.7 million at the box office and was controversially nominated for Best Documentary Feature at the 1952 Academy Awards, despite being a scripted drama. It even spawned a radio adaptation that aired from 1952 to 1953, running on more than 600 stations. Suspenseful, serious, and unmistakably of its time, I Was a Communist for the FBI became one of the most visible propaganda efforts of the early Cold War, and a blueprint for the anti-communist genre. For more on the making of the film, click on the link at the end of the video for an entire episode on I Was a Communist for the FBI. Number 1. Pickup on South Street. Released in 1953 by 20th Century Fox and directed by Samuel Fuller, Pickup on South Street is a Cold War thriller dressed in noir's shadows and cynicism. It stars Richard Widmark as Skip McCoy, a small-time New York pickpocket who lifts a stranger's wallet on the subway, only to discover it contains microfilm carrying top-secret government information intended for communist agents. The woman he robs is Candy, played by Jean Peters, an ex-stripper now reluctantly working as a courier for her communist ex-boyfriend, Joey, played by Richard Kiley. When Candy is sent to recover the microfilm, she finds herself drawn to Skip, whose refusal to cooperate with either the communists or the authorities complicates everyone's plans. He's no patriot. He doesn't want to help the Reds, but he sure doesn't want to help the Feds either.
You tell that commie I want a big score for that film, and I want it in cash. Tonight.
What are you talking about?
You tell me you people are supposed to have all the answers.
Tell you what, I don't...
Come on, drop the act. So you're a Red. Who cares? Your money's as good as anybody else's.
The streetwise tension builds as Candy struggles with her loyalties, and Skip grapples with the sudden realization that his petty crime has placed him at the center of an international espionage plot. Alongside them is Mo, played by Thelma Ritter, an aging stool pigeon who trades information to survive and offers a moral compass in a world full of betrayal. Her heartbreakingly resigned performance earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress and gave the film its emotional core.
Who's gunning for me?
What's the matter with you? Playing footsies with the commies.
You waving a flag, too?
The Production Code Administration initially rejected the film's script for excessive brutality and sadistic beatings, including a particularly violent scene in which Joey assaults Candy. A frisking sequence between Peters and Kiley was reportedly filmed multiple times due to its suggestive content, and the final cut had to be toned down before approval. Abroad, the film also ran into trouble. In France, communist themes were scrubbed from the dubbed version entirely. The film was retitled Harbor of Drugs, a nod to noir atmosphere but a retreat from Cold War politics. With the French Communist Party a major political force, studio executives feared backlash and sanitized the espionage angle. Even at home, the film caused discomfort. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover openly despised it, especially the defiant attitude of Widmark's character and his sardonic line, "Are you waving the flag at me?" Hoover wanted nothing to do with it. 20th Century Fox studio head Daryl Zanuck, however, backed director Fuller, defending the film's gritty style and anti-hero complexity, though he agreed to strip FBI references from the advertising to ease tensions. With its sweat-soaked realism, sharp dialogue, and unapologetically hard-boiled worldview, Pickup on South Street took Cold War paranoia off the political stage and shoved it into the back alleys of Manhattan. It's not about true believers or loyal patriots. It's about people surviving the system, scamming the ideologues, and maybe, accidentally, doing the right thing. A Red Scare film with grime under its fingernails and fire in its dialogue. It earns its spot at the top of 1950s Red Scare cinema. These 10 films weren't just entertainment. Some were made with the support of the FBI, others were shaped by the fear of blacklisting or by studios eager to prove their patriotism. And many helped define a generation's image of communism, not through debate, but through drama. Do you have any other Red Scare films that you think deserve to be on the list? Comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe.